But basically, Hayek put forward this argument that socialism is fundamentally committed to the idea of central planning, and to a lesser extent, what you might call liberal welfarism is as well. This idea that the state should institute various kinds of economic programs that they think will be to the benefit of the lower orders. Now, what Hayek argued, amongst other things, because his arguments are multifaceted, was that it's very problematic when we try to institute some kind of social program that might be that is proverbially to be to the benefit of the lower orders or the poor, because we can never be sure what the unintended consequences of instituting such a program could be. They very well could be bad. And so consequently, we should refrain from instituting those kinds of programs. And one of the biggest examples of this that Sowell himself, and also people like Charles Murray appealed to throughout the 1980s, was that if you institute generous kind of welfare provisions, this is going to mean that women are less likely to marry because they don't need to depend upon a man, which means you're going to have more single mothers on welfare, right? Relying on the state in lieu of a husband, right? Which is problematic to them for several different reasons, not least because it undermines various kinds of patriarchal social structures and, of course, retrenches this demand for welfare. So the argument is that this is an unintended consequence, right, of instituting various kinds of welfare programs intended to help the poor, the rise of single motherhood. Now, to be clear, it is the case, right, that whenever we institute some kind of social program, there will be unintended consequences, right? But what makes this argument conservative rather than what we might say just a neutral descriptor of something that is invariably going to happen, is the idea that we should err on the side of assuming that these consequences are invariably going to be bad, right? Because we can't be sure that if we institute this social policy, it won't be bad. Now, that's true, right? But the great progressive economist Albert Hirschman said, we could also just assume that the unintended consequences might very well be good, right? Maybe you institute a welfare program that is intended to get people off the streets. And then as a result of families being better off, more people end up going to school and more people end up going to university, right? That might not be the immediate aim of the program, but that's what ends up happening down the line, right? So it's this instinct that we shouldn't do anything because bad things might happen if we do, that makes this fundamentally, as I call it, a cynical and kind of conservative conception of unintended consequences.